get ready to take control of your healthcare. Here's your host, Ray Cober.
And we're live, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to Broken Healthcare. My name is Ray Cober. I am your host, and I am delighted to have with us in the studio, ladies and gentlemen, Mr. David Jones from Homestead. What's happening, David?
What's going on, Ray? Happy to be here. Thanks for inviting us, man. We're excited about the opportunity to talk healthcare and all other assorted topics and subjects.
Right on, David. So we're thrilled to have you with us. So I always like to get started just getting to know my guests, and we've known each other now for a few years. We kind of travel in the same circuits and go to the same boring seminars, but every once in a while you meet someone and it's kind of interesting, and you definitely fall into that category. You're, the audience will get to know you, but you're a unique cat. So, How does a guy like you find his way to the insurance industry? I want you to give us kind of your humble beginnings. I know you've shared some personal stories with me, and it wasn't a straight path from your childhood to where you are today. And I don't care who you are or what your upbringing or background is. No one says they want to go into the insurance industry.
Absolutely.
It just never happens. But tell us a little bit, if you would. Take us back to kind of, let me play a psychiatrist. Throw your feet back on our couch and tell us, where did it all start for you?
So it goes back to, I grew up in a kind of typical urban background and environment. Grew up in public housing projects. Cumberland Gardens. There's a great community to grow up in. Many of the folks who I grew up with were still friends to this day.
Now, for those of us who might not be familiar, where is that?
Okay. That is in Allentown, Pennsylvania.
Okay.
So
Steeltown.
Steeltown, the old Bethlehem Steel. Billy Joel wrote a song about us.
Oh, yeah.
So we're living here in Allentown where the factories have all closed down.
Yeah.
The city actually sued him.
What?
When he wrote that song, yes. And then we'll talk about this later, but when I was county commissioner for Lehigh County, we actually tried to get him to come back to the city and write a song about our revitalization. And he said, "Go kick rocks."
Did he now?
Yes, he did.
Thank you, Billy.
So I grew up in Allentown, poor neighborhood. Just a bunch of folks trying to survive a really, really tough neighborhood. A lot of the friends that I grew up with, by the time I graduated high school, were deaded in prison.
Wow.
And so for me, I chose a path of going to the Army because I said, well, I don't want to hang out on the street. Because all of my uncles and my brothers and my cousins, everybody was drug dealers and hustlers and pimps and all of that.
Yeah.
So success to me was modeled by breaking the law. But when you grow up that way, you don't necessarily think that you're breaking the law.
Right.
It's like, why are the police bothering us? We're not forcing anybody to buy drugs. We're not forcing anybody to solicit prostitution. Why are they bothering with us?
Right.
So that was the kind of worldview that I grew up with. And at 17, I went into the Army. Right out of high school, I was just 17 years old.
Wow.
Trying to get away.
17, you go into the Army. So they didn't find you, you found them?
I found them. I was looking for an alternative pathway.
Okay.
Right? I oftentimes when you're growing up in those environments, I often say this, that the greatest poverty isn't a poverty of economic resources, but more so a poverty of ideals and vision for your life. So I didn't have any vision for my life. So what the military offered was something else.
Yeah.
Be all you can be. Army of one. Hey, sign me up. Sounds great.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, so I guess when you're growing up in that environment, and I don't know much about Allentown. I probably the first person that I've ever met that at least I know is from that area. But when, we've kind of talked before, and you gave me a little taste about your background and growing up, and I can't even imagine what it must have been like to be in a position to be a young man, not even out of their teens, and see so many people. And just for some context, you're not talking about one or two people, right?
Yeah, I've it's literally about 18 of my friends
18.
dead, and probably another 20 who ended up in and out of prison.
Wow.
I'll give you an example. Good friend of mine growing up, his name was Tyrone Fluker, and we call him Fluke. He's been in and out of prison his whole life. But we came home from high school one day. We were 14. It was middle school. We came home one day, and his mom had packed up everything, taken his 2 sisters, and left. And here's this 14-year-old kid. Comes home, everything is gone, and he's trying to figure out how am I gonna survive? You know, and it's a poor neighborhood. Nobody has enough to share, so he bounces around from house to house to house to house, and it's no wonder that he spends his whole life in and out of correctional systems.
Sure.
So that's kind of like the most common story that I've been exposed to.
Yeah.
So like you grow up, you don't have an age of innocence. You see far too much stuff far too early in life.
Right.
That adults shouldn't see.
Right.
You see them as a kid, but to you, it's norm.
Right. Right. No, and that's, you know, what I'm hearing is a story of just the guy who's trying to survive.
Yep.
Right. Forget about skin color or neighborhood or background, or if you're in that position, you're going to do what you got to do to survive. Right.
Yep.
And so the closest thing that I kind of can, did you ever see The Wire on HBO?
I'd love to. I've watched it about 6-7 times.
So it sounds like you grew up in a community or a neighborhood that was very much like downtown Baltimore,
Very
right?
much so.
You're either in the game,
Yes.
or you're not in the game. And if you're in the game, you know that you're kind of playing by the jungle rules.
Yep.
Like it's live or die.
Yep.
Every time you go out, you don't know if you're coming back. And
I have cousins, brothers, uncles who were the first to be sentenced in Pennsylvania under the drug kingpin laws that have done life,
wow,
35 years, 20 years.
right?
And so that was norm,
Yeah,
right? You understood you were playing in an arena.
yeah,
You understood what the risks were,
yeah,
but you felt you had no other options.
yeah.
All right, that's a wrap. Hit like, follow, and subscribe, and we'll catch you next time.